So take the phrase support the troops. It's kind of a meaningless question. Do you support the troops? Because in a democratic society, the question is, do you support the policy under which we are dispatching troops around the world? But,
Right.
it gets complicated. So let's take a very real world situation. One of my neighbors is a Vietnam vet, and he's very proud of his service. And in fact, he almost died in Vietnam and came back injured. Uh, so if somebody says, do I support the troops? Well, no, I don't support the troops if you mean the troops who were sent to Vietnam to try and crush an independence movement in the third world in the Cold War
Mm.
period. No. But I also don't want to make light of my neighbor's sacrifice and his own conception of why he was there. And so I think part of the reason these things are so powerful is
Mm.
I don't want to be a jerk to my neighbor. I don't want to say, well, you fought in an illegitimate war that the United States proposed as the liberation of South Vietnam, which was really an
Mm.
attempt to, further the reconquest of the third world in a post. You can imagine
Yeah.
the kind of esoteric argument that
Right.
wouldn't resonate with my neighbor. So there's a real struggle to be clear about the moral and political implications of some of this jargon and these slogans, and yet still respect people who may have a different opinion. Patriotism is another good one. I don't consider myself patriotic in any sense because I don't believe nation states deserve our loyalty and allegiance. I don't love the United States because the United States is a creation that I find very disturbing in a lot of ways. Okay. But of course, one of the things that binds people in a nation state is a love of country. And so the reason these phrases are so powerful is because they're so hard to deconstruct with people who
Yeah.
you might, I like my neighbor. We get along great. I want to maintain that relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think the power of those slogans is sometimes is they impede real conversation, and people
Hmm.
reflexively end up stuck in old debates that don't get very far. And Citizens of the Empire was my attempt at that moment in history to try and understand those phrases. Uh, but what's interesting is, more than 2 decades later, I still struggle with how to have those conversations, as I think we all do.